Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out to Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Alistair Main, Billy Highvolt, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As the Earth, Chow Young Cat, Dank, Dave Rakia Gafford, David Wayne Foster, Edwin Johnson, Erwin Jennisons, Felix Hung, Fireball X, God Rockin, Henrik86, Jeranism, Joshua Balsimo, Kirsten Smith, Liam Nedrick, Life is Short, Matt, Nagara, Naibai, Qatar Craig, Renee, Sally Ballis, Silver Umbrella, Skeptic936, Texas Mike, The Flat Earth Sun Moon, and Zodiac Clock app, theflatearthchannel.com, Tina Baker, The Real Gabster, Tom Herkins, and Windrider. So a massive shout out of appreciation to all of you for supporting Patreon. Now, I've got to be honest, there's a fair few people here on both Discord and G+, but it's been a very, very quiet start to the day, so I will raise the mic. Hopefully some conversation will get going shortly.
Mic check.
Yeah, we hear you. But Nathan's on mute right now.
Cool.
Okay, he's off mute now.
We hear you. I hear you, rather.
Good stuff.
Hi, Rams.
How you doing, Nathan?
No complaints. Very well. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Are we recording?
We are, yeah. Picked up my car this morning, and like with any old car that you buy, whenever you have a fault, you think, oh god, it's going to be a disaster, it's going to need a new engine, it's going to need a new gearbox, whatever, you know. And I took the car in yesterday, told them what the problem was, came back today, and they're like, 20 quid. I was like, what? They're like, 20 quid, we had to grease these slider things in the calipers, that was it. I'm like, you're joking? That's the cheapest repair bill I've ever had in my entire history of owning cars, ever. So I just couldn't quite believe it when they said £20. So I took it off them, drove it away, and it was perfect. I'm like, wow, problem fixed. can't believe it. Cheapest fix ever.
From my experience,
Sounds like you've got an honest mechanic.
Yeah, it was the second mechanic, so I went somewhere else with the same fault, and then didn't trust what the guy told me and took it to a different mechanic. So, yeah, yes and no.
There were some ballers in here yesterday or earlier today for me after the show that were we were discussing science and what it means and all that sort of stuff, and they were saying that basically fault finding a problem in your car is akin to doing science.
You know, there's a name for it. Troubleshooting is not science. No.
No.
It's exercising logic.
I was arguing that it's just reasoning.
Yeah, logic. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to often go out when I was a rep and diagnose people's system issues. And you have to methodically go through it one item at a time, make only one change, etc., etc. Troubleshooting, there's an art to it. You're doing it efficiently. But that's not science.
Yeah.
What the hell? Another new member? I'll shout him out on the, or her, on the live show as well, but digitally analogous new member as a penguin. Cool.
Good stuff.
I went down the relativity rabbit hole and found out how many meters are in it.
How many meters in what?
Really?
How many meters are in what?
0.38 micrometer.
In a second.
Oh, right. How many cubic feet in a second? I love it.
Well, no, I don't think it works on cubic because it's just like it's transforming geodesics into straight lines and lines into geodesics.
Okay. So how'd you end up with a time derived from an area? That makes no sense. Well, okay, maybe it does. You tell me.
No, I'm still a little bit confused from it. I've watched like 12 hours of relativity videos. My brain's starting to melt.
No, I know you feel. I got the same exact feeling when watching endless hours of MIT presentations on thermodynamics. You just, like you say, you get to a point where your brain just starts to melt.
You can end up feeling more confused about it all than than anything.
It wasn't necessarily that I was
one
getting
of
more
the
confused. It's just more the fact that when you're searching for some nugget of useful information that you can repackage and represent, then that's your motivation, or at least it was for me. I wasn't necessarily. I was obviously I wanted a better education in the specifics of the second law of thermodynamics, but that, like I say, wasn't my overall aim. My overall aim was to find a nice soundbite, which I did.
Well, they say that time travels slower the higher up you get, like which is kind of crazy because if time did travel slower on a mountain, wouldn't it be another day, or it'd be a different day from as long as they say the Earth has existed? So wouldn't like on top of Mount Everest be a different day completely?
I have no idea about this load of old nonsense.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm having to deal with. It's kind of annoying because you don't ever look at anything objectively. It's just like you look at it for a short period of time and then forget about it.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds
I
quite
think that's
handy.
the double whammy of relativity. That number one, they got you focused on the ball space for like 100 years or so. And number two, obfuscated and put in all this confusing nonsense, which really has retarded true science past 100 years.
Yeah, I
They've
think my nose is
diverted,
going.
yeah, they diverted such huge amounts of resources to all this nonsense. Think about the amount of money, effort, energy wasted on this relativity, space-time stuff. Even for people that are genuinely investigating it, and not purposefully faking it, it's a huge detraction and distraction.
Well, one of the most interesting things I found was that, when we look across the plane, we see, a flat plane, and the sky appears to be making, it's not actually, it appears to be making a celestial sphere. What general relativity does is makes the celestial sphere an asymptotically flat universe, and then it curves Earth around a ball.
Yep, sounds like you know much more than me after going through all, especially since you've gone through all those videos. But yeah, they've reversed it in that sense. Instead of a flat Earth and in a roundish or surrounding environment of stellar objects, yeah, they made, like you said, the universe sort of like thing, made everything to balls in the middle. I think that's what you meant. That's what I gather.
But when you watch time lapse of stars, it looks like just a flat wallpaper moving across the sky.
Yeah. I really wonder if it's actually a dome. I mean, the stars themselves, yeah, maybe in some kind of like linear plane. They just move so, like almost it's just a single plane, and all the stars are like that, and there's no like 3D, yeah, parallax between any of them. That's crazy.
Now, I'm not saying that means anything, but it's just the way it looks.
I mean, I think it means a lot of interest because while, there may be some kind of like firmament and dome, the layer of stars themselves may be like a plane, not necessarily like a dome as such. It just looks like a dome, or it feels like a dome just because of perspective and the way they move, and yeah. Because if you look at, like, say, a chemtrail, right? Let's say you have a really bad chemtrail and the plane goes away from you over your head. Well, it comes from one end of the sky, goes over your head, and goes to the other end. It really looks like that chemtrail is curving, right? Curving downwards, or however. So imagine stars as they move and as they go further away from you. They do have this curving sort of aspect to it, but that could just be perspective, and they're not really, even up where they are. They may not actually be, moving in as sort of a curve as we, more like a planar rotation. But, yeah, who knows at this stage? So again, because of we've been set back 100 years plus because of all this ball stuff, and maybe, well, even more if you're talking about Copernicus and all that. So we've been set back another few hundred years at least, several hundred years, because everybody's been going down this gravity heliocentric rabbit hole.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's all like, it seems like it's all like a distraction to keep like true knowledge hidden.
Yeah, definitely seems that way.
Hey, Righteous.
Yeah, what's up? I'm eating. What's up, Redman?
When you said that the stars it looks like almost like a wallpaper, why do you think they call it the fabric of space-time?
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, don't they still say that space is like? Yeah, they still say it's flat, right?
Never heard him say that, but I just thought about it the way you said it. Wallpaper is just the fabric of space-time.
Yeah, I think they still say it's like flat because I heard some people say it's flat, and it's like, do they even know? Like, all the in their model. I don't know. I don't even think they even know. Like, they just go back and forth between stories, it seems.
Yeah, that's why they just call it the fabric of space-time, I think, because that's probably the easiest way to sort of cover everything that they come up with, or to, retrofit whatever else they come up with. It could be flat, it could be curving, it could be expanding, shrinking, it could be, folding, it could be held together by strings, whatnot. Could be, it could be, there could be dark matter. What's the shape of dark matter? Is dark matter flat, 3D, 4D, 5D? Then they have all the different dimensions. Then they say with what quantum mechanics and so on, there's other universes popping in and out of existence and crossing over, and multiverse and all that.
Well, that's the
Yeah.
beauty of working without any concretedness. It means that a future discovery can adjust and change our model to suit. So yeah.
Yeah, it's really like it's like science fiction writing, right? Like if you look at Star Wars and so on, how they've got all the different movies and comic books and Marvel and DC and all that, you can see how every new movie they sort of have to shift and adjust things cater to what they've come before and introduce new characters and new mechanisms, right? Like say Thor Ragnarok, how Asgard works and how this and that, that seems to be the pattern they're using with this, astrophysics, right? They're just any new thing. The scientific method does have some of that of where you're going back and refining things, but with astrophysics, it's more like science fiction writing. You find something or you want to come up with something, and then you've got to go back and sort of like tweak all the little bits to make it consistent. Otherwise, the fans, people that believe in scientism, will start pointing out all the little errors.
That's why they don't like the idea of science proving anything, because they want that room to be able to change their mind and change their model and yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the massive. I mean, if you're talking about actual, say, scientific method type stuff, yes, you can say that things can change and the evidence points to X, Y, Z, and over time you discover new things and so on. But with astronomy and astrophysics, that's just taken to a whole nother insane level. And definitely for the ballers love that. Well, they backtracked, right? For the past few years, they were like, science proves everything and it's flat. I mean, it's Earth because science proved it. But then the past few years, they've just been backtracking and backtracking until they're like, oh, science doesn't prove anything. It's the best model we have and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
See, but the main deception, though, is that as technology improves, to maintain their scientism, maintain their priestly religion, let's say if a priest claims that he knows something or God is telling him something specific, let's say if other people find out that information, then the priest has to keep saying he knows something that others don't, right? So as with technology, we discover through optics and imaging and other methods, new things, they have to keep pushing things further out to beyond the realm of the public. So much so with the so-called black hole picture, that's not a picture as well. That's artificial intelligence that generated the picture. Then they claim that they use some sort of algorithm to make sure that it's kind of what they think it should be and blah blah blah, which no one else can really reproduce. Maybe one or two other elite labs or computer science labs. The telescopes that they used were like a few from around the world, and they got a few pixels of data. Then they ran it through the algorithm. So yeah, they have to keep pushing ahead to show that, look, our priests know something you don't, that you can't find out for yourself.
Earth, hey, I got the picture of that black hole. Let me get it for you. I'm gonna put it in live stream.
All right. Yeah, it's like with, the Bible and Catholicism and all that, no, you have to come through us. We tell you what it says, we interpret it for you, and, try not to speak to God yourself, because, that's not a good idea. That's the same thing we get from science. It's like, we got this. We have the data. Don't worry about it. We got this. Just listen to us, Don't try and figure anything out for yourself, you're too useless to do that.
Yeah, and if you don't understand, it's just because you just don't understand. So we'll do the understanding part for you, and just trust us.
There you go, Earth.
Exactly.
There's the picture for you.
Yeah.
What's up,
I watched QE's last presentation on evolution today, and there was an interesting bit of information in there about junk DNA. and how initially when they first talked about it in the 80s or before that, they thought it was just junk, just leftover stuff, and then it's just recently being discovered that so-called junk DNA actually does all sorts of really important things that we're only just discovering now. So yeah, that was really interesting.
Yeah, the whole junk DNA thing sort of really shows the arrogance of humankind, and the arrogance of scientism and materialism to say that there's all this DNA here, um, but yeah, it's junk. I mean, just yeah, pretty ridiculous.
And the whole story of evolution is just, it's become such a ridiculous, silly joke now, to me anyway, from what I've learned through, QE's presentations, that I can't believe they. I'm just left in shock. It's amazing. It's just amazing the leaps of logic and that they try and make is just amazing. Like
Yeah,
they
I mean,
find
I
a
think
couple of bones of something and then they just guess the rest, and it's just
yeah,
amazing,
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, it's pretty egregious because it was only when yes, when I became a Christian, when I was looking up Kent Hovind, and even when I was at university, I thought, oh yeah, radiocarbon dating and radioisotope dating. But after I watched some Kent Hovind videos, I was like, hang on, I mean, that wouldn't really fly in most departments, like but how come geology, astrology, astrophysics, these guys get a pass? If you try to do that in medicine, it's like even mainstream medicine, they wouldn't accept those kind of techniques they use for all this archaeology, evolution, geology. But funny how the fields of so-called science that are most important to us is where they take the most liberties, right? Who we are, where we come from, where we're going. That's when they really bend the so-called science.
Well, I think they want to be able to challenge the the religious community, I guess, that can offer or tries to offer answers to things that science can't. But science tries to, because they want to put themselves on the same pedestal as to be able to answer, all the questions on why and how everything is here.
Yeah, I think that's essentially the satanic agenda behind it, the satanic and Luciferian agenda behind it. That for the past 100 years or so, they really needed to say, look, okay, we've got the tools, we've got the theory. Now we're really going to usurp, whatever the mainstream religions were saying, and yeah, that's how they got through with scientism. I think was born out of what rationalism and so-called the illumination. And yeah, that's what we ended up with now, 150 years later.
Yeah, and I think students in universities, they're put under so much pressure during the course of their studies, and trying to satisfy the curriculum, that they don't have time to actually have some genuine discoveries and genuine questions, and genuinely challenge the thinking. They just have to soak it in and then be able to regurgitate it when asked. And so many people go through the education without even asking some of the basic questions.
They don't call it comprehensive school for nothing.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you'd like to join the panel, then you can hit the information box below this video, but be sure to mute the page you are currently watching before hitting that join button. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a member of the Nathan Oakley 1980 channel crew and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now, we are joined by Chocolate Sane and Righteous Force in G+. First and foremost, a very good hello and good afternoon, good morning, wherever you may be to you two.
Good morning, good morning. How you guys doing?
Very well.
Good morning, guys.
Hello, Jibby.
Hello.
What's up, Jibby?
How you guys doing?
Very well, very well. We're also joined by a whole bunch of people in Discord, so hello to everyone in Discord.
Hello, hello. How's it going?
Very well.
Morning.
Good morning, good afternoon. Any signs of Earth curvature?
Who?
Only
Who?
in your mind.
Real or a legend?
I should have actually done this before I started housekeeping, but a couple of new members, one of which has literally just joined, which is Mason B, who's joined as a penguin, and also Digitally Analogous, who joined yesterday as a penguin. So thank you very much to both of you for joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. Any signs of axial rotation?
Nope.
That would be a no.
Nope.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
No.
Just fantasy.
Any evidence
First,
that...
it needs to be established what it is, really,
Well,
and not just our
not
preliminary
at the-
fantasies about it.
Coming from Arwen, that's pretty strong.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Elijah.
yeah. From what I've heard, it's not at the really is level. So
Don't get me started.
I was going to say, you're stealing Chocolate's thunder there.
it depends on what is.
Is.
That's Clinton, isn't it? Male Clinton. Depends on what your definition of is, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where are we? Any evidence of the distance to the sun? We've covered that. So any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astrophysics, cosmology, or astronomy?
Amazingly not.
What about
You would
the
think there would be,
tethers
though.
that were launched into?
I think
by
the computer tells them their
space
science.
shuttle.
Can you guys not hear Earth-shaped investigator?
Sorry. Barely,
Good.
by the way.
Launching what? Sorry, Earth-shaped investigator.
The tethers, because that's supposed to float in space or in low Earth orbit and generate electricity. They call that an experiment. They showed videos.
Are you talking about the tether
Tether,
incident where it was supposedly that really long cable that the experiment was for that to generate electricity, but it broke off? Are you talking about that? Like that, basically that exists in space?
Yeah, I think he means the one where the tether hit the bottom of the pool and all these bubbles came up. Is that the one you mean?
No, I was talking about the space one that occurred ISS level.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking
It's
about.
called
too.
the tether
bubbles and
incident on YouTube.
Yeah,
Yeah,
is there an ISS one? I was talking about the space shuttle ones. I haven't looked up the ISS.
No, the height of the ISS, he said. We're all talking about the same thing. We're talking about the shuttle that had a long, thin piece of whatever. It's hard to tell from the images that they gave us. But it snapped off, floated away, and then seemingly hit the bottom of a pool. Now, thereafter, there was all sorts of debris that seemed to raise up from the pool, and that was latched onto by a load of alien hunters as extraterrestrial life floating around and looking at the
Correct.
tether.
They were calling that UFO discs 1 mile wide, based on the size of the tether. That was all extrapolated that the anomalies on the video were 1 mile wide or more.
Yeah, well, a load of bollocks. This is not a hypothesis, but thank you for bringing it up.
Yeah, just thought I'd mention that.
Go on, Elijah. Or Rams, whoever it was. Or John. You're just scuffling on your open mics. Bit of mind discipline, please, gentlemen. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Oh, God, we were just talking about that on PPC and how the 8 mile drill hole of Russia seems to be the same depth of the Marianas Trench. So that seems to be the depth that we're all at. How do we extrapolate much more from that?
Didn't know that. That's the depth of the Mariana Trench. The hole to hell is the same depth. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's about 7.5 miles, I believe, the Marianas Trench. Or it's basically equal to the drill hole depth.
12k, the hole to hell.
Yes.
Okay. So just the hole to hell, that's the only... Mariana Trench, that's it. That's as close as we get to the core, is it?
That seems to be it. Now, how do we extrapolate much more beyond that? Would they hit it with sonar? How far can you get? Can you get 5,000 miles down? Doubtful.
About the presupposition of the Earth radius itself, at the R value. Any evidence of that?
Well, they'll keep asserting that anytime.
Yeah, no R, but Nathan T. Cozy is asking to be unmuted in Discord.
My bad. Hell is he? I can't even see him in there.
Oh, you might have left then.
Oh, there he is.
He's yeah, there you go.
Go ahead, Babs.
You hear me? Mic check, mic check.
Yeah, we hear you.
Hi, Mike.
Very last housekeeping question.
So Babs.
Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container?
No. Big no.
Apparently, gravity acts as the container.
Gravity is not a force. There's no scientific evidence. Didn't we just cover this?
Right.
According to NASA, hydrogen molecules escape gravity.
Look, whatever you're going to imagine is up there doing things, there's simply no way to demonstrate that gas pressure can even manifest in the first place without a container.
Yeah, that's our whole argument. Well said. What's that you say? Differential pressures underneath a wing? What's that you say? Differential pressures in a hurricane? Where did you get the gas pressure from in the first instance to have this gas pressure differential?
Exactly.
So you would need some kind of container wall?
Well, to quote conspiracy cats, without the container, there can be no pressure. End quote. 2019, conspiracy cats. Or another quote, without the balloon, there is no pressure. End quote. Conspiracy cats. Again, 2019. You need a container to have gas pressure in the first instance to then have a gas pressure differential. It's a delta of the gas pressure we're asking in regards to how we have it if we're not contained and there's merely a vast space for the gas to dissipate into. That would be outer space. A space the gas can fill and wants to, by way of entropy. It wants to disperse into whatever available volume it has, and the sky vacuum, as it's claimed, is an available space that the gas would disperse into. The fact that it doesn't mean that the gas isn't dispersing into a sky vacuum. It means the sky is not a vacuum.
I was asking Puppy actually this morning how they measured the 10 to the minus 17 Tor value for space, and his response was satellites and the speed that they're able to move in up there can only be achieved in such an environment.
Circular.
That's
Circular
ridiculous.
reasoning.
There's not even supposed to be that level of vacuum up there. That doesn't make any sense.
Circular reasoning. Presupposing that there's a vacuum, and then these
How do you have
satellites.
Officially, the
presupposes-
statistics don't even say there's that level of vacuum over there, so it's just
Right.
broken reasoning, even by their own standards.
How do you have a theoretical door to a 10 to the minus 17 vacuum from a pressurized system?
They don't.
But
It's
what
a
can
completely
hold
open
it?
system, Jibby.
You know, in the Princess Bride, when they bring the guy to the little troll played by Billy Crystal, and he's like, you know, you could bring him back to life. He's like, yeah, he's only mostly dead. Well, it's like that with the atmosphere. It's only mostly closed, right? It could be open whenever they want, when they want to send things like Voyager out and all these little satellites and people to the moon. Yeah. For those purposes, it's open, but for every other purpose, it's closed.
Well, when I hear a story about how hydrogen molecules escape past the moon, I get this weird idea. Maybe I can fill a balloon with hydrogen in a really solid contained system and then send a balloon to the moon.
Yeah,
Could
by
that
virtue,
not be done with hydrogen versus helium?
based on their current rhetoric and the late 1990s moving of the Tor values, which is arbitrary, they can change the values to whatever they like. They're only discussing their model. Let's just make that clear first of all. All of what we're discussing here is not applicable to Earth. Sky's not a vacuum, the gas would fill the space. All of these Tor values that are claimed in the heliocentric model, they're nothing to do with our reality. I just want to get that absolutely plain. So if you want to change the Tor values in a model, you can. It's merely a matter of getting the bottom of your pencil, rubbing out the old value and writing a new one in. Because it's just a model. It's not where we live. It is inconsequential to what the sky actually is, what they say the Tor values are, just to make that clear. But in their model of the Earth-Moon system, just to address what you said, Jibby, yeah, they're saying that you could extend that atmosphere out to the moon based on the current Tor values. So you should be able to just take a balloon to the moon. Utter horse shit, but that's their current rhetoric. It's still...
Right, it's playing around in their model.
Yeah, just their model. But still, their model still violates natural law because that's still absolutely and unequivocally an open system in a vacuum. And the gas would fill that space. In reality. In the model it doesn't.
Clearly, in that reality, but you can play with their model in their Star Trek science.
Yeah, you can do what you like in a model. So you can change the
Yes.
Tor values, you can have gas pressure next to a vacuum, you can do all that stuff in the model.
And they changed the model, which is why I said, well, since hydrogen can get to the moon, I can send a hydrogen balloon to the moon. Because you said so. Not applying that to the actual reality, but according to their Star Trek, well, that's a new thing now. A balloon to the moon.
In their model.
According to that.
In their model.
Yes.
Obviously, none of us are going to jump on a balloon and travel to the moon. That's ludicrous. Equally, no one jumped on a penis rocket and went to the moon either. That's ludicrous. That also took place in the fantasy reality of their model.
I used to think cylindrical rockets would have to lift off very quickly in order to maintain their trajectory. Turns out I was wrong. A cylindrical rocket without fins or directionals can accelerate very slowly and go straight as an arrow.
Yeah, we've seen
What do
it.
I know? I'm not a rocket scientist.
We've seen it on TV though, eh?
Here we go. We still on housekeeping?
Nah, sorry, but feel free.
There's an echo. Why can't I hear myself right now?
Watch screen.
Oh, it's gone. No, there was an echo. It's gone now. But it's interesting that you guys are talking about models. I've been busy trying to work on a flat Earth model, and I actually discovered a lot of cool stuff in the process of doing this. But before we get into that, I understand what your stance is as far as models are concerned. You say that models are pseudoscience, they're not reality. So let's just look at what pseudoscience actually means. So pseudoscience consists of statements, beliefs, or practices that are claimed to be both scientific and factual, but are incompatible with the scientific method. I agree with that 100%, but we can use models for other purposes other than science. Like models can be used to scale things down, to measure things. But I'm not saying that your stance is wrong. I just think that certain things are useful as far as discovering what the world that we're in really looks like, and like relationships between stuff that we see in the sky in comparison to us here on Earth. So yeah, I sent some images to Chocolate. I don't know if he's gonna be able to share them with you right now. Is that possible?
Oh, I didn't see him until just now. Give me a second. I'll share him with the rest of the guys.
But to assert that what you see in your model, because you claim it's a scaled down version of reality, won't describe reality. That's called reification.
It's not going to describe reality, but it's going to just help us understand what we're looking at a little bit better. Don't you think so?
It's going to help us understand what looking at your model does.
No, by modeling things, we can understand how they actually work in reality.
No, that's called reification. Just said that.
Oh, yeah, it is reification, but I mean,
so that
isn't there value in doing that?
Logically,
are we gaining something from doing that?
You appreciate that reification is logically flawed.
So, because you're making something intangible concrete and real when it's not real?
Right. The fallacy of misplaced concretedness, making that which is not concrete, in this instance a model, represent actual reality. Hypothesization.
Right, but I could make
a
model of
one
anything.
example of that would be trying to measure the circumference of your surroundings based on the movement of the lights above. The movement of the lights above can never tell you the complete area of the dance floor. They're just showing you where they move above the dance floor. It doesn't tell you anything about the dance floor or the shape.
Not exactly. It's saying the dance floor's a sphere, and because I move the lights around my sphere-shaped dance floor, the ground you're standing on is sphere-shaped. That's reification. Taking your model and saying, my model has the lights moving around it, thus, therefore the lights in the sky move around like they do on my model. No, they don't.
I agree that it is reification, but at the same time, what does that leave you with? Like, how are we supposed to figure out how stuff really looks? Are we just going to speculate and just guess what stuff looks like?
What do you mean?
We can model it just to get an idea.
I've got a set of eyeballs.
Not to say that the model.
Well, I've got a set of eyeballs. When you say what stuff looks like, why would I look at a model for that? I've got a set of eyeballs.
But your eyeballs aren't telescopes. You can't look at the whole Earth in one go. You gotta take small snapshots and make a model based on that.
Says who?
What I'm saying is that you can't see Earth in its entirety.
Hold on 1 second. Shout out to Paul Connell for the super chat. Thank you very much for your support. Sorry, whoever interrupted. Just let Babs get to the end of his point.
Yeah, you can't see Earth in its entirety, so you have to just work with whatever data you have, whatever you've gathered from observations, which is still flawed because even with these observations that we're doing, we're only looking at such a small percentage of Earth and saying that the rest of Earth looks like this small percentage that I'm looking at. That's inaccurate because you're never looking at everything in entirety. So models are useful because you're able to take data from observations and sort of get an idea of what the terrain looks like. It may not be real. Yes, it's reification, but it's better than just speculating and saying there's an ice wall or it's an infinite plane and not really trying to figure out how it works out geometrically.
Okay, I just want to get something clear. I'm not saying models aren't useful. That's not what I'm saying. At the point where you assert that based on what you have modelled, it is a representation of reality, at that point, you are guilty of the fallacy of reification. So you might say, well, this model's helping me understand what reality does. That's the same exact thing, just rephrased and repackaged. So you're saying what you're going to now understand based on what you've done on the model is, and how it's come from the original observation you did with your eyes anyway, that now that you've got a complete picture from the model, you know what the reality does. That's reification. Now, yeah, feel free, model
And
what you
that's
like. I'm all for people trying to figure out where we are.
And that's what we criticize them for.
Right.
Also,
Okay.
also, I would like to point out that even though it might be your opinion that it's not the best, but it's something that still falls under the first thing you mentioned, which is pseudoscience, which you read the definition for. And that's unfortunate, but it's true.
Right,
It's exactly what we criticize the heliocentric people of doing as well. So we don't want to start doing exactly what we criticize them for.
Right, exactly.
Right. But you do understand that we're not all the same. We're different. We all have different approaches. This isn't a cult. We have different methods for how we're approaching this issue. So I'm not saying that my ideas or whatever I'm doing right now speaks for everybody in the community. I'm just saying, I'm just giving you an idea of what my perspective is, pretty much.
Fair enough. There's nothing wrong with that. Like I say, I'm not trying to discourage people from models or vilifying models. It's the fallacy of misplaced concreteness upon asserting that that is therefore how reality works because that is how it works in your model. But so long as you don't do that, who cares? Model away, man. I'm not live and let live.
Right.
So check this out.
Say we don't live on a model because we don't. But a model is used to describe the reality. That's it. If you're using a model, well, we're not a model. We don't live on a model. We live in a reality. You can use a model to help describe the reality. That's where you have to leave.
Exactly. Just like you can use mathematics to describe reality. It's not reality. It's just a language that you're using to describe reality. Which goes on to the next thing that I was getting into.
But just before you do, so descriptions, as you correctly point out, in terms of mathematics, well, that's an abstraction. It's abstract. Well, explanations come from science. You can explain things if you're using science, whereas having an abstract description, mathematical or otherwise, isn't an explanation or a description of your reality, upon assertion of which you are guilty of the fallacy of misplaced concreteness. Feel free to carry on. Just wanted to drop that in there.
Right. Okay, so speaking of models, I'm sure a lot of you have heard the globe earthers constantly asking us for a model. Where's your model? Produce your model. You guys don't even have a single model of how flat Earth works. But the funny thing is that when we look at the globe, they don't have the same thing either. I recently found out that there are 75 different projections of the globe. Two examples of this are like Gals-Peters projection or the Gleason's map. So they don't have like a single model. And by a single model, what I mean is the exact same thing that they want from us. They want us to produce a three-dimensional computer rendered model that shows everything working. But they don't even have that. They don't have a single 3D rendered model that shows every single thing that we see in reality working at once. They only have like things that use augmented reality, like Stellarium or any star map type of app that just superimposes stars onto a sphere. You know, they don't have like a single model that shows every single thing working at once. And by everything, this is what I mean. Could you, if Chocolate could share the first image that I sent him, I could explain that in a little bit more detail.
The one with
And I wanted to say you are 100% correct.
the one with
And
just 1 second, Jippy. Sorry.
when they say a working model, they want everything involved. Well, when I say, do you have a heliocentric model with everything working, they don't have that. In fact, they're still adding to it. In 2005 and 2006, they added 2 new moons to Pluto. So that's called a model in progress. It's still they're not done. They weren't done in the year 2000. They had to have 2 new moons to Pluto. Pluto's up to 5 moons. I learned the helio model when Pluto only had 1 moon. So that's a model in progress. Where's their model?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Still in progress.
Exactly. The only thing they're going to show you is a globe, like a physical inflated ball or like a paper mache model, but they can't show you a computer rendered image of the globe with everything working. Could you go to the first image, the one that's typed out, if you don't mind?
Okay, I've got the one with the like a sine wave. Is that the one?
That's actually the third image.
Oh, okay.
Let's go to the...
Got sunrise and sunset, solar and lunar analemmas. Is that the one?
Right.
Yeah, it's on.
Yep. So I challenge any glober to show us a 3-dimensional rendered model that shows sunrises and sunsets, solar and lunar analemmas, solar eclipses, moon phases, northern and southern star rotations, solstices and equinoxes, and seasons, all working at once on one single model. They can't do it because it doesn't exist. Yet they expect us to do the same thing. They're asking us to produce one 3-dimensional model that shows all of these things working at once. Why can't they do it? You know? So if you could go to the second image, if you don't mind.
They're not in order. You'll have to tell me which one the second image is.
That one right there. Yeah.
Okay.
The moon phases. Okay. So currently what we have, what we're working with right now, not speaking for you guys on this show, but other flat earthers, prominent flat earthers that we know about, use the AE map. And as we know, the AE map has the sun and the moon circling around Earth. But a couple of problems with this particular model is that if the moon is reflecting sunlight, if it's moving around, we're going to expect to see different phases all the time. It wouldn't just be, the phases would be completely different than what we normally see, just based on how that geometry would work. So the only way we could have a rotating local moon and sun working with moon phases is if the moon is self-illuminating, meaning that it's not reflecting light from the sun and it's generating its own light and generating its own phases. That's the only way that it would work. So lastly, if you could go to the third image. There, when I was trying to figure out how the sun and the moon actually work, I stumbled across timeanddate.com, and they have this tool that allows you to see where the sun's going to be at different times of day, as well as different times of the year, different seasons. And the interesting thing is that they use the Mercator map on this tool, and I just wonder why they chose to use this particular map. Is it because this is what the world really looks like? But if that is the case, we run into another problem because we don't live on a rectangular looping model like in Arwen's case with the sun going through portals. That's kind of ridiculous. So trying to figure out what the sun is actually doing on this model is a little bit problematic, but it makes more sense than the AE map because the AE map can't predict southern star rotations, and it gets a lot of things wrong, whereas this sort of accurately gives us an idea of how different aspects work. But yeah, this is as far as I got so far. I just felt like sharing it with you guys. I know that Nathan, a couple of years ago, already undertook doing this with like the sun tracking thing that he was doing with Antonio. I didn't really look that much into that, but I'm curious to know what were the results of that? Like, what did you figure out? Did you actually manage to understand what the sun is doing, or what were your conclusions with that in particular?
Well, specifically that time and date is incorrect in certain parts of the world, so it was off by an hour in some instances. So we had people measuring solar noon, and somebody was particularly close to the equator. I can't remember, it was 4 years ago, but somebody who had, sun directly above them at solar noon, and it absolutely wasn't time for them to have solar noon. It was an hour out by time and date. So if nothing else,
yes, we proved this. Correct.
I remember my heart nearly stopping when it happened. It was, there was some moments in that sun tracking. Most of it was absolutely tedious. You're sitting there waiting for someone to tune in the next time zone. Very boring. But then there was moments that were truly heart stopping. So that was one of them. The fact that sun and moon, time and date, is inaccurate was the main conclusion that I would have drawn from it. The maps aren't right. You could.
It's inaccurate.
No, it's definitely not accurate. But the maps are inaccurate also, and you've highlighted that already. I think you've pretty much covered it. Yeah, I want to see if a globe with a pressurized gas around it and all that in a vacuum chamber, says Alexander. Thank you very much for the super chat, Alexander. Yeah, you want to see their second law of thermodynamics violation modelled, is what you're saying, basically, my friend. Indeedy. You won't. It's not possible.
Right. Yeah, so, I mean, this is something that we've dealt with, like, a long time ago. I remember in, 2016, Flat Earth asshole Jake, or whatever his name was, talked about this. He was like, boycott the AE map. It doesn't work. This is something we've known for a really long time. But there are new globers that have come into the discussion that are unaware of this and think that they're the first people to recognize these errors. Like Stingray, for example, the guy that's on Jose's show, he tried to model flat Earth, but all he did was he just took the AE map and took circles and spun them around the map. He didn't really think about geometry or looking at different renditions and how it would actually work. He just took a biased approach, and he knew that it wasn't going to work, and I felt like it was very disingenuous on his part. But yeah, I'm currently working on this right now and just trying to see how far I can go with this,
It's a pre-laid false dichotomy fallacy. So what they do is the controlled opposition presents us with our model, us being flat earthers. So here you go, this is the flat earthers model. Who the hell made this? And who the hell uses this? Oh, why? All of the government bodies use it, do they? This is our map, is it? And what? Apparently that's us saying truth in plain sight. No, what truth? It's not our map. But apparently that's our map. Why? Well, because they say it's our map. And then we have to defend this map that the UN use on their flags. So we're defending a UN flag map. Really? Why? Well, because when they show why it doesn't work, that proves the Earth's a sphere, of course. Because I've got my model of a sphere that we don't live on, and you've got your model that I've given you. Now, why doesn't your model that I've given you work? Well, because Earth's a globe. False dichotomy fallacy that I've just proven my model works in. Because your model doesn't work. Hello? We don't live on a model. That's not representative of reality. That's the fallacy of misplaced concretedness. But they want us to have a model so they can burn it. And in burning it, they say we're on a globe. It's just as simple as that. Controlled opposition narrative.
Right. And not just that, just like I stated at the beginning of this presentation, they're asking us for a single model that does everything when they don't even have that. So perhaps they should produce one single model that does everything first before asking us to do the same. But I doubt they can do that because it's impossible.
Peter's projection, Mercator, they have different ones they show the weather with. But which one is more accurate? Like the video we've all seen in this community, where they showed the Peter's projection map, and they said that that's more accurate, where it drastically changes the sizes of Africa and Greenland. It seems to be political maps, not physical.
Can you back off your mic just a smidge, Jimmy? Bit hot.
I used to think that too. I thought it was like a political thing. I heard someone mention that a while ago, but that's not true. The reason that the continents are different sizes.
The West Wing told you it was a political thing when they broke down the Gull-Peters versus Mercator. So the West Wing said this is a political issue.
But it's not. The only reason that the continents are different sizes is because it's a projection from a globe. So distortion is going to happen. That has nothing to do with politics.
You said it's a projection from a globe. It's a flat. Everything's laid out flat, mapped flat, wrapped around a globe, and then projected onto these maps. So the origin is flat. All maps are flat. That's what you're utilising and using. The fact that it goes through this convoluted process where they claim it's gone onto a sphere and then been projected back out onto a flat map is just a load of convoluted nonsense. What are you actually dealing with? Well, you're dealing with flat maps that are distorted because they've been projected onto a sphere and then back onto a flat map again.
That's what I thought. I thought the distortion was because it was taken from a spherical globe and projected onto a flat surface.
Yeah, but where did it come from in the first instance? They're mapping it without any curvature. So where are you getting the curvature to start with? Well, you're not. You're starting with a flat map. And the guy who made the sphere bullshit 2007 blue marble even went through the process of how he did it. You take the mapping, which is flat, you wrap it around a sphere and it looks like this stupid donut thing. Then you massage it all out till it all fits and then you've got this globe. There you go, Bob's your uncle. Well, they're starting by mapping out the flat territory, then wrapping it around a sphere, then mapping it back out as a projection. Well, the projections are therefore heavily distorted. Doesn't that make sense? But obviously they leave out the bit where they take it from the flat territory we live on, and they just say, oh, well, it's come from a sphere. Oh, right. No, it hasn't. It's been put on a sphere, then put back onto a flat projection.
Right. And someone in the chat just said that Google Earth is a perfect 3D rendered model of the globe with everything working. So why don't you show us solar eclipses on Google Earth?
It's not. It jumps down to a 2D projection. I mean, they've smoothed that out beautifully.
Yeah, it's not.
Well, this is something that was documented during the Isle of Man. So if you go and check out Flat Earth Debate 60 through 200, we're using it where it goes through a very distinct transition, Google Earth and Google Earth Pro, when they leave the 3D rendered, scale fudged globe view and go into the flat map view. And it was really obvious back then. Ranty's joined, so he'll reminisce about this because it was comical back then. Now it's super smooth and the transition's hardly even noticeable. But back then, you definitely knew when you transitioned from 3D to the 2D flat map rendering because it changed.
Even if you do transition to the 3D model, it still doesn't show you like star rotations or lunar phases. It doesn't show you any of that.
No.
So how is that a complete model?
Who cares? When anybody comes and presents this, I was going to use this as a rounding out point, but I'll just make one more point that Arwin made, which is when he compared the new version of Google Maps as opposed to Google Earth. It did the same thing Google Earth did, which is as you zoom in and zoom out, the scale's changing. So it's completely changing the scale of the land you're looking at when it references that sphere model it starts out with. Well, it can't do that forever. It's got a transition. But I remember Owen showing me on the map for you, and I can't remember which episode it was, but dragging the mouse around and showing the little bar changing size. And you're like, whoa, the scale's completely changing.
Right.
Shout out
Exactly.
to Godzilla. Just 1 second, I'm just going to read out this super chat, and then I will point out my defence to all of this, which makes it all null. Why is it so hard to prove the wet spinning ball rocket? Wet spinning ball rocket? It should be easy. I think he means Earth. Maybe the 2000th episode. Keep up the great work, Nathan. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Godzilla37. Really appreciate your support. The point is that Tim Osman comes with Stellarium. This has happened a couple of times. And I say to him, is the ground beneath my feet in Stellarium? And his answer is, yeah, Stellarium's got the ground in it. And I go, so the ground beneath my feet is in this CGI rendering model, is it? And suddenly he realises that if he says yes, he's saying, yeah, I believe your feet, your skin and bones are inside a model, inside this CGI rendering. No, they're not. End of argument. Because by asserting that what the model does and says makes what the ground beneath my feet and what I see looking up does is the fallacy of misplaced concreteness, turning that which is not concrete into that which I actually experience. The ground beneath my feet is definitely not in a model on a computer. It's the ground. I can touch it. It's soil and stuff. That's not in the computer. That's reality. And we don't live in these models. So to assert what the sky's actually doing based on them is a fallacy. Reification.
Right.
But good luck with your model. I look forward to watching them burn it in comparison to their model. No, I'm only kidding. I'm sure you'll do fine.
David Weiss has a bit of a model, doesn't he, with his app?
Look, he's the boss. He's
No,
allowed
he
to do what he
doesn't.
likes.
Just has an AE map with circling suns and moons. It's so inaccurate.
He's been able to integrate quite a few elements to it, so he's doing a good job with that.
Yeah, I want to zoom in like the universe and see some of these black holes and all of this other stuff going on in the complete heliocentric model. I want to see like stars blowing up and.
You're breaking up, dude. Oh, well, isn't this nice?
Good morning, Nathan.
Morning, Brenda.
Spreading more lies, are you? You're the one committing the fallacy of misplaced concretedness when you think that a model actually has your feet in it.
I don't think a model's got my feet in it. My point was my feet aren't in a model.
Yeah, that's the fallacy of misplaced concretedness.
Yeah, that's the point I made. Thanks.
No, you're the one committing the fallacy.
That was literally his point, Brenda.
So when I say that Tim Osman presented Stellarium and I asked him if the ground beneath my feet is in Stellarium, that's me committing the fallacy and me thinking my feet are in Stellarium that Tim Osman presented.
Yes.
You're a moron.
Yes, you're the one committing the fallacy.
Really?
Yes.
So
no, you are.
I'm not making.
That's exactly what it is. That you think
he's the one
in a computer program.
He's the one calling out.
Your feet should actually.
Are you a psycho?
What the fuck is she babbling about? I'm not presenting Stellarium. Tim Osman was in my example. You fucking retard.
So Nathan, you said that the time zones represented on timeanddate.com are incorrect. How did you figure that one out?
Because when it said solar noon would arrive, it didn't.
Solar noon where? In which location?
I can't remember. I'm really sorry. Several locations. It was more than one. It didn't just happen once. It happened on both the equinox, and it happened on both events, both sun trackings. We had instances where it literally did not match with what it said or where it said the sun would be. Off by an hour.
Did you measure like the sun angles, or was this just based on observation alone?
It's based on solar noon, so you can obviously, certainly on the equator when one of the events happened, the way she proved that it was solar noon was she picked up a plant pot. That's all she did, and there was a shadow directly beneath it. You know, you couldn't get any more legit proof that the sun was directly overhead.
Right.
But it was off.
Okay.
On, like I say, on time.
It was off by how much?
About an hour.
Was it like a huge deviation?
Say again?
Said it was off by about an hour.
In some, like I said, there was more than one, but there was one very specific one on the equator. I can't remember which country, and it was off by about an hour.
And is that based on the 15 degree per hour drift?
Just based on specifically, Sun and Moon says the sun's going to be at solar noon at this point over this country, and it wasn't. That's it.
Okay.
Hello. Hello. We've seen something very interesting in the chat. F3 Stop Motion says, I'm buying a ticket on the Virgin space plane, and I'll show you guys. Excellent. What, you're going to show us the ticket, or are you going to show us some proof?
I look forward to seeing it. There's already plenty of claimed pictures from a second law of thermodynamics violation you appreciate. They're all fake. Why? Well, because the sky is not a vacuum. That would be a violation of a law of nature. So, yeah, I'm sure you might go up really high. You might even bring back some pictures. But will it prove the sky is a vacuum? No, that'll still be a violation of a law of nature. Just like when Samsung sent up their balloon for a quote-unquote space selfie. Well, no, their balloon wasn't in space, fundies. They just said it was in space when it was actually on a balloon. But that didn't stop them calling it a space selfie, right? Yeah, it just wasn't though, was it? Absolutely confirmed the sky isn't a vacuum, and that they were claiming it was space that it was in for your space selfie. Yeah, that's just...
Do you guys know the details of the Felix Baumgartner balloon?
I question the validity
for
of
one,
the
the balloon was said to be something like 45 acres wide.
The balloon?
That's pretty much like Rhode Island
a
floating in the
balloon.
sky.
That's enormous. Sorry about that. I question the whole Baumgartner. Since somebody showed me a few continuity errors in the videography, I'm like, this whole thing could be totally bunk, just based purely on continuity errors that are impossible. But that's
a funny story. A funny story is my buddy Mike was the guy in the booth. Camera 1, camera 2. Okay, switch to audio 1, audio 2. He was in the booth for the Felix Baumgartner jump. He ran the booth.
Really?
My friend. I didn't even know this until a couple of years ago. And he's like, I did the feed for that. And he's been in TV and industry for a long time. I've always known that. I just had no idea he did that. And I said, do you know that was not the curvature of the Earth? And he said, there were no GoPros there. And I said, did you do the cameras or were you in the booth? He didn't say anything. I said, those were GoPros. You didn't know those were GoPros? The guy who ran the feed for the Felix Baumgartner jump had no idea those were GoPros. I'm telling you this from first person, knowing the guy who ran the feed. He didn't even know. But when I brought up to him, you the guy who installed the cameras, he had nothing to say. You know, he retracted. He's like, I know, like I was in the booth. But he thought, even he thought that was the curvature of the Earth.
Wow.
Planet Arizona.
Compartmentalization is amazing. It'd be worth asking him about the continuity errors if he was actually if he's claiming to be in the booth. I'll see if I can dig out the continuity errors with the Baumgartner jump and put them to him and say, how is it possible that this logo's disappeared off the side? Or some, I can't remember the exact continuity error, but you know what a continuity error is.
Yes.
Right.
I can send any of your questions to him directly.
Cool.
He was the guy who ran the feed. He currently works for NPR right now, but that was his job then. I know him. I want to get him on Mark Sargent's show or something just to talk about it. But he's very standoffish. He makes fun of me for flat Earth. But when I pressure him on these things, he shuts down, and I don't want to lose him, as a friend.
Right.
But at the same time, I do want to get him in our discussion. And it's very sensitive, so I'm working on it.
Well, I'll appeal to the hive mind.
I do know the guy who ran that feed.
I'll appeal to the hive mind, speaking of Mark Sargent, then. So if you're watching this and you can leave a comment and you already know where the continuity error video in regard to Baumgartner's jump is, please leave it as a comment link and I'll pass it on to Jibby so he can pass it on to this dude.
Yes, I will get the questions and comments to him directly.
Right, quick shout out to Isa Mahalski. Woo woo woo! He says, but me multiverse, smiley winky face. FE is the Donald Trump of cosmology, and artificial intelligence is fake news. Peace to the good. Fire, fire. Peace sign. Thank you very much, Isa Mahalski, for your super chat. Really appreciate your support. Subscribe to Isa Mahalski. Listen to his music. He's ace.
I've got a video up from the BBC. I'm going to play about 3 seconds if it's all right with you, Nate. I'm going to put it on slow, no sound.
Go ahead.
It's the Felix Baumgartner jump. Since we've just been talking about it. So they say that they don't use GoPros, etc. Okay, so here we have a very curved surface here. I wonder what this could be, Nathan, this white area at the top. What do you think that could be if I play the video? Oh, look, it's flattening out. Here we go. Look at this. Oh, what's this?
Cool. Very good.
Yeah, and they don't
Was
use
Lord Stephen Christ correct?
Concave reality. Yeah, like I say, I've recently come to question the entire validity of it, so I'm intrigued to hear, if you get a response at all, what this dude has to say about the continuity errors.
Yeah. I'd love to get him in this discussion. He's a really, down-to-earth guy. He's blue-collar like us. Just, these people are compartmentalized. He only knew his job. When I brought up GoPro, he shut down. It didn't even occur to him. Like it doesn't to most people. Like, do you realize that's GoPro? Because they always used to refer to us back, at least in 2015, they were like, well, what about Felix Baumgartner's jump? And we're like, look at the curvature. How high up was he? They didn't even think of it. He didn't even think of it. The man who ran it, he has his job to do. He's running that feed. He don't know anything outside of that.
Another shout out to Godzilla37. Quote, wet spinning ball rocket, end quote, was coined by Ran, aka Flat Out Elected. Shout out to Ran. Yeah, down in the Dominican Republic, right? Cool, very cool. I didn't know that. So, wet spinning ball rocket.
Yeah, it's like another version of my magical spinning water ball. I like that, the wet spinning ball rocket.
In a vacuum.
In a vacuum, yep.
Tony was quite happy today. Have you spoke to him?
Who?
Sleeping Warrior.
No, go on. Why is he happy?
He was ecstatic actually, because he actually won the award that he was trying to get. The Globers Award for.
He was petitioning to win Dumb Fuck of the Year, wasn't he?
Yeah. I mean, he asked me to put a community post on, which I did about a month ago, sort of like encouraging people to go and vote for him. He's put some videos out on his channel, or sort of been encouraging people to, and he did it on here as well. Well, apparently he won by 70 votes, so he got what he got what he wanted, and it was all from himself, essentially. You know, from his wanting to do it. So he's actually took their award away from them, in effect.
Yeah, I like it.
It wasn't really.
It's got a term called taking ownership. So he's taken ownership of Dumb Fuck of the Year and gone, yeah, give me the award. I want it. In fact, I'm going to petition for it. Get me the award. I'm going to win the award. In fact, that's my award. What's that you say? It is my award. Yeah, I knew it before you even announced it. It's just taking ownership of it. Yeah, you've been owned.
That's called the Golden Globies.
Owned by
And
Sleeping Warrior.
They were actually complaining about it afterwards, saying that maybe he shouldn't have been allowed to actually take part in this particular award because he was voting. Because he was voting, getting people to vote for him. Like,
he took the wind out of their sails. That's so sad.
So what
I guess they were expecting him to make a video and be like, "Oh, why did they nominate me?" And this is so upsetting. Nope. He's like, "Yeah, give me that. Thanks. I'll take it."
They don't realise by saying that they've essentially declared the fact he's won. Oh, we're really annoyed about this. Should we even give him the award? Just like, yeah, I bet he's pissing his pants. Hey, Adam.
Hi, you guys. You all right?
Very well.
I was looking up for the Felix Baumgartner continuity error.
Yes.
I've got it here if you want.
Oh, yes, please. We've only got a minute left on this show, though. Might squeeze it in if you're quick.
Right, let me quickly screen share then.
Kiss you, Adam. You're ace.
Okay, so you bear with me.
Arr.
One. There. See here, bottom corner, there's Zenith. Look where the paneling is. Yeah. Now if you go to this picture, move from down here, look, to up here.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious, isn't it?
Excellent. Was there any others, or was that?
That's the main one that I knew of. It's the jumping logo as it moves from panel.
Absolutely perfect. Thank you very much. Your timing couldn't be better, Adam.
Always, mate.
And with that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who tuned in on the Nathan Oakley 1980 live stream for joining as a member, smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. If you are watching on Nathan Oakley premiering stream, however, stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. A massive thank you to all of today's Discord and G+ panels for making this live show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on Nathan Oakley channel, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Just catching up from a late night chocolate, mate. It was John's 40-minute presentation, 3 hours.
Right. Was that like a time dilation?
Yeah. He was bending, he was warping that bloody space-time last night.
Nice.
But yeah, it was very good, enjoyable evening. I'm going to hear it next week. But him and Paula did the rebuttal to Travis. The Bible is not a flat Earth book.
It's going to be a pre-record. I thought it was going to be. I thought you guys were going to do it live.
It's a good job we didn't, mate, because it was a good 3 hours. So it's a good standalone show. So I'm going to put it out next
week. We don't have a flat Earth book, it seems.
Oh. I'm staying out of that can of worms.
Yeah, we all should.
But it's a good show, and John made some great points, but Paula's knowledge is exceptional.
She spent 40 plus years dedicated to research in the New Testament. Yeah, Paula's research is unsurpassed by anybody I've ever met.
I agree. And she's so humble about it. I don't know if it's like dark horse or humble, but either way, she's not like out there bragging about it, other than when obviously she's just presenting her research.
She never brags about it. I was bragging for her for a while there. I'm like, Paula, you sell yourself short.
Yeah, I agree. You know, she's got a fantastic mind, very, very knowledgeable.
So it was a good chat. Like I said, it wasn't just the rebuttal. We did, as always, as guys wander off topic and call on a lot of that knowledge from John and particularly Paula. So yeah.
I'm back.
I went.
Hey,
4 more hours.
Hey, kid.
Yeah. All right, dude.
The after show or whatever.
Yeah, after show now.
What did I miss?
I got tired of Brenda and just lost her ass. Are you here for that?
I just got here.
Detailed Tim Osman's reification fallacy when using Polaris. She came in and said, "You're
Tim
using
Osman."
That. Yeah, I'm just explaining that Tim Osman's using a reification fallacy when he uses not Polaris, Stellarium, and
oh, you mean his? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say she then came on the panel and accused me of using a reification fallacy when I say my feet are in the model. I'm like, no, I asked him if my feet were in the model to highlight his reification. Yeah, that's you using a fallacy. You're like, what kind of nonsense is this?
That's what they're left with. That's the
needs to
best
be
tactic they got at
institutionalized.
this point, is to just try to flip the words that you use and try to bullshit us. That's the best they got.
Elmer Fudd sophistry. Where's Timmy at with his $20,000 GPS ECEF Cartesian coordinates? Did I say $20,000? It was $20,000. EC, Earth-centered, EF, Earth-fixed Cartesian coordinates. And clown.
Talk about money down the toilet, right?
Cartesian coordinates, though.
Yeah.
It's $20,000
each.
And the stars rotate in different directions. Globe. Like a comedy show out here. Starring Timmy Clown. And
Welcome
where's
to
that
the show.
Dean, that Stingray Dean idiot? Stingray Dean, you have some unfinished business on this channel. And it was with Ranty's 18-mile shore-to-shore observation from 1 foot. Now, you came on the show, you got your ass handed to you, and then you left, and you went over to Jose Retard show where you're starring over there. You got some unfinished business over here, you little crayon muncher. Get your ass over here. Clown!
I love when John's
Stop
in a good
talking
mood.
about crayons. You're making me hungry.
Making you hungry? You implying you're a crayon muncher, Arwen?
No.
QE, you
You're
need to
making
add
them
in
hungry.
window liquor to the crayon muncher. They're window lickers.
Yeah, they're window-licking crayon munchers.
Yes, exactly.
I like the window licking edition.
Did you get any blowback from Brian's presentation, Ranty?
Not really. It's mainly people just complaining about not being able to hear him very well because he speaks that fast and he's got a thick Irish accent.
Oh, the accent. Well, you can't do anything about
No, no, and he was rushing
Electric
through it.
shock.
So
he was going quite quickly. I
Right.
don't know if he. Hope I hadn't got anything to do with that because I was like, my show's going out afterwards, Can you let Ranty know to plug it? And I think he might have rushed on account of me. So if he's out there, I'm sorry, Brian. That wasn't my intention. You don't need to worry about it, really.
Yeah, he did actually say before we actually went live that he was going to miss out whole chunks of his presentation and do it really quick because Nathan's going live.
Oh, God. I'm so sorry, Ranty and Brian. I said it tongue in cheek. I think, yeah, Brian obviously took me more literally than I'd hoped.
Wait, you mean between tongue and cheek spamming the link like 20 times in his
At the end?
Ranty's chat?
Yeah, well, only because it had actually ended. I paid to spam. I did drop a $2 super chat in just to spam at the end.
Yeah, that eased the suffering a little bit. That bought me a chocolate bar.
Oh, he's here. Hey, Brian.
I said Brian did great.
Mike Discipline. Mike Discipline. Thank you very much.
We just hear your TV, Brian. Good presentation, by the way.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I thought getting muted.
Right. Yeah, good presentation.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
I liked your depictions as well. Your images with the olives and the spice jars were great. I noticed none of them. Ranty didn't ask my question, bastard. So I said, why aren't there any depictions of our own head in any of your examples? Why is that? So I'm going to ask you now, as the host didn't see fit to ask it when I typed it in bold capital type in his chat after being asked if there was any questions. But there we go.
The reason for that is that there is no perspective in orthographic view. There's only perspective in front-on view. That's the reason. So if I show pictures of the side of your head, yes, it would be Muppet vision.
Yeah, Muppet vision. Yeah, like the calculator uses. No perspective. You see your own head. The sizes don't change with distance. It's feet and inches only, not angular size, as you were detailing in all your images.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Isn't it scary that they don't realize that?
It is
Isn't
scary.
that downright scary?
Well, it's more scary that that's my shame, right? I know you talk about second law of thermodynamics in your regard, but in my regard, that's my shame. We spent best part of 100 shows with them before we even started the show, before I even pressed the record button. They'd won. Because each and every time the show opened, we were into discussing how the begging the question, proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator matched up with the reality that Anthony had taken a picture of. So they'd won before we even started any conversation. And why? Because we hadn't appreciated that perspective had been removed and that what we were looking at in all of their models, which were on screen continually, that we didn't see the side of our own head. But we didn't spot it.
Well, I did eventually.
Oh, shut up, Arwin. No, credit where credit's due. I
called it Mario vision.
Yeah, the credit where credit's due. Arwin was the first to spot it.
Yeah.
It's a good catch, Arwin.
Like a Mario Brothers game.
What cracks me up listening back to those shows is Arwin's trying to explain it to us, and we're going, whatever. Look at your stupid eyeball on a stick. And then by the end, we're like, yeah, it's the first point of perspective that we've reached because of the limitation of the atmosphere on the day. But it's ultimately not being represented in Muppet vision. And that's thanks, not solely, but largely to Arwin and his depictions. Because this stuff does take a while to sink in. But that's the embarrassing bit. The fact that you even when it's being shown to you and someone's trying to explain it to you, you still brace against it because you want to get in there and argue about how the calculator matches up and how many feet are missing from the bottom. And now I look back at it and it's like, that's why we don't ever have any calculator-based arguments come here anymore. Because they end within 5 seconds now. But because they didn't end within 5 seconds back then, they spent the whole show winning. The Globeheads, that is.
Yeah, well, when they apply machinations and we overlook that, then, yeah, they win, basically, by fooling us into being drawn into their machinations and then getting preoccupied with fighting over the details of the machination. And therefore, the machination is at least temporarily successful in distracting from what is actually happening out there. And, yeah, at first they were successful.
Yeah, but they're indicted even more because they know now because we've told them for 2 years So it's different for them. They know there's a problem, but they're just like ignorant Muppets. They just repeat the same thing over again without taking any new information in. Right? Freaking hilarious.
After that happened, I was like, that's it now. No begging the question. And it took a while of Anthony doing precisely that with me, getting annoyed with him, to recognise the benefit of doing it. Now, obviously, with 2020 hindsight, you do shows now where you'll say, well, I said I wouldn't beg the question. So you've got your disclaimer in there. Now, back in the day when I used to hear you say that, before I even knew you personally, QE, I didn't appreciate the importance of that statement right at the beginning, because you almost say it with a sigh. But it is important to recognise that when you're into begging the question to unpick the fallacy from within the fallacy, if you were arguing with somebody at that point, you'd be losing the whole time. Under controlled circumstance where you can pick it apart and disclaim that normally you wouldn't beg the question. In other words, normally this argument would end within 5 seconds. But here's the begging the question argument pulled apart for anybody who needs to understand it better. Because just declaring that they beg the question, yeah, you can win every argument, but it will not necessarily leave a salty taste in people's mouth, but still leave them scratching their head about why and how their fallacy had fooled them.
Interesting take.
At the moment, they have two choices. It either is always curved, but always looks flat, or it's just flat. It's one or the other.
Oh, it's over. Tune into Ballbusters. You plug Ballbusters?
Not on the live show, but I will tomorrow on the live show, because it's tomorrow on tomorrow's show, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, Ballbusters Saturday. Make sure tell everyone, clergy, bartenders, grandmothers, everyone. Make sure they're there. The number one ball killer, bar none, will be revealed and unveiled. Who are you going to call?
Everyone.
Ballbusters.
There's a bit in Leon where Gary Oldman character has got the Leon character penned in, but he keeps killing everyone. He says, "Get everyone," and the lieutenant says, "Who?" He says, "Everyone!"
That's literally the scene that went through my head when John said that, Nathan. I know exactly what you mean.
Have you guys seen that that picture of Australia with the bushfires?
Oh dear.
I have, because Gary Orson's been covering it. But go on.
All right, okay. So I've just got it on screen, and I'm just astounded if this is correct that would be the case. It looks like the entire continent is
remember, Ranty, you got 36 people in Discord that can't see it. I'm just saying.
I don't know. Is that a real picture? Wouldn't all of those fires be literally from above covered up with giant clouds of smoke? Would you see the actual fire?
Well, that's what Tony said when I asked him about it this morning.
Where's the smoke clouds? Where's all the smoke clouds? I don't see any smoke clouds. Not even regulars.
Apparently, this was taken from the ISS, I think.
Yeah. I think this was rendered by a computer.
I would say I agree. Because, like you say, there is no smoke. There's no clouds. And if that was a raging inferno like that, it would be just impossible to see through.
And seriously, if that amount of light would actually come off from a fire, then it would be so hot, it wouldn't just burn the forest, it would literally incinerate everything. It just looks like CGI.
Okay.
Anyone else?
I don't see the relevance other than current affairs.
Well, we were getting back to the ISS because the image was taken from the ISS.
I was going to say, Ranty, look at the shape of Australia. How long, wide it is.
It's like a chicken nugget.
Look at the Southern Arch.
What?
It's like a chicken nugget.
Being stretched.
Yeah.
What did you say, Adam? Pork scratching? Nah, it's more of a nugget.
He said it's been stretched. No, but what I'm saying is that if this is a real image, Arwen hit it right on the head. He's like, where's the smoke then? If the ISS was flying over and was taking an image of this with all those fires burning like that, how did they get an image rendered like this?
Sorry, where was the image
Rendered?
taken from?
Well, they had it rendered.
Where was the image taken from? What's the location of the
It
image?
was supposedly taken from the ISS, Nathan.
Where's the ISS claimed to be?
It's supposedly in space.
Can I get a conclusion? Anybody? Anybody at all?
I just wonder how far away this would technically even have to be in order to get one shot of it.
Arwen, you missed the hanging curveball.
No, it's not in space. There's no photograph.
How do you take a picture from a medium that can't exist?
No, but I just wonder, like, how much distance would there have to be even to theoretically take a picture of a landmass this size? What would distance need to be to have that in angular view like this? Wouldn't that have to be incredibly high, much higher than the ISS, or I don't know. It looks CGI anyway.
Yeah, I think you're overcomplicating it.
Yeah, I guess so.
So you
Nah,
got
he
it
never
right
does
the first
that.
time.
Arwen never ever does that.
You got it right the first time. It's like, where's the clouds? Where's the smoke?
Yeah.
No, where's the image taken from?
Well, that will debunk the image being taken from the ISS. If
No,
you're
it's
over
taken from a medium where apparently smoke doesn't exist.
Lovely jubbly. Thank you, Renty. Very interesting.
No worries.
Also, there is no scientific evidence for climate change.
Any proof of smoke in a vacuum of space?
The gas would fill that space pretty rapidly.
But it's not just gas smoke, you know. It's also it's also carbon solid particles. So how would that look? How would you see anything?
How would gas dispersing into a vacuum look? I don't know.
No, smoke. Smoke is not just gas. It's also solids.
But the picture's being taken from a claimed vacuum, right? So you've got to ask yourself, what's going to happen from this vantage point? The vantage point of a sky vacuum. So how's the smoke going to look? Well, if you've got a high-speed camera quick enough to take a picture of gas rapidly dispersing into an available volume, then that high-speed camera view might be quite useful from Narnia. I mean, outer space.
I think you just hit the nail on the head. That's why we don't see any smoke, because all of it has been sucked out into outer space as they were taking the photograph.
That's what it is. That's got to be it.
We're all choking right now.
But the fires, they're still cool. Takes the whole term "there's no smoke without fire" concept to a whole nother level, doesn't it? In this instance, there's fire with no smoke.
Just one last thing I want to show you guys, if you've got a second.
Yeah, hold on. I'll bring your screen back up. Bear with me.
Sure.
Hey, Kiwi, what time is the show? Is it tomorrow or?
Hang on. We've had a Bullbusters plug.
I was just making sure I got the time.
Be Here or Be Sphere, Quantum Eraser channel, 7 p.m. UK, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Anybody see Taboo's new video?
God, I've got Ranty up.
Yeah, I've seen it, yeah.
What's going on? Go ahead, Ranty, you're on.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, Ranty. My bad, brother.
No, it's fine. It's just. I just wanted to point out how stupid these globers are. There's a glober out there. I'm not even going to mention who it is, that can't understand what's obscuring the tower on the left. He's put a video out asking for help.
That chimney is higher because of Earth curve. There you go.
That's what I thought, Nathan. I thought it was being loomed up, actually.
Hold on. Does the calculator say we should see this chimney? If not, it's loomed.
Yeah, but what's obscuring it? That's the question. So,
don't know the distances.
I don't know what's the point.
Until I've put this through,
is it not just a giant chimney?
Until I know the distance of that chimney that's obviously on screen. Look, we see it. It's here. I need to know how far that is before I can tell you whether or not it's really there. I need the model to tell me that.
Yeah, Definitely, because it could be being loomed, right?
Exactly. We don't know if it's really there yet. It could be a slightly looming, non-standard refraction hyena holographic projection of a chimney from behind the Earth curve that's been reified based on an R value into the horizon. And that chimney sat on the horizon, for all I know, at a very great distance. So I need to know, the model needs to tell me whether or not I can see it or not.
Right.
And then we can... Well,
yeah,
no,
with greater distance becomes greater looming, right?
I think you're confusing a
Really?
Spider-Man quote, but carry on, Ranty.
No, it's fine. It's like, okay, well, if you don't know what's obscuring that that left-hand spire there, then you know, what can I say? So this is the typical globe head. This is this is their level of research. They'll put a video out asking what's this thing in the foreground obscuring this thing in the background. But yeah,
hey, Ranty, I've got an idea. Put this out as a video, right, on your channel, and paraphrase what Miles Davis recently did. Don't give a single bit of information, but say, what's the explanation for this?
Is it just me, or am I reading a name in the castle? Does it say Robert?
I think it does, actually, yeah.
That's weird.
It is pretty cool, though. Pretty cool image.
There's also
right, yeah, taboo conspiracy we was talking about. Also, did you want to say something?
No, I was just going to say there's a C on the left that's visible as hell, so it's more like Crobert. Anyway, my bad.
Yeah, so yeah, taboo conspiracy. I saw his video; it was excellent. Who asked that?
Voices in your head, maybe?
No, before I put mine, was it chocolate?
No, that was me. Yeah. I just wanted to see if anybody saw it. Pretty good video.
Yeah.
More globe destruction.
I seen it.
Yeah, I know you did.
Yes.
Horizon hunting.
I seen it. I nicked some stuff off it too. Thanks, Ben.
Actually, we should term this, you know, horizon hunting. I think that's a pretty good name for it. Horizon hunting.
Can you hump a not actual location?
Huh? But you can work out the distances to the supposed horizon through an image or a video, and by doing so, you can debunk the globe model.
How?
Because the globe model has a shape and measurable distance to the supposed edge of their ball model. But if you can prove that you can see further beyond that, which I'm sure John's going to talk about on.
All right, but the horizon is basically an optical side effect. It's not. It's arbitrary. So why would we need to size that up?
Because there's a geometric horizon. That's why. Doesn't matter that it's arbitrary and it's variable. It changes based on a lot of different things. That doesn't refute the actual geometric horizon distance that it must be on their spinning ball-tard religion. Follow?
We had a perfect contrast. So Ranty's explaining that geometric horizon, a physical edge based on the geometry of their claim to be sphere Earth, a physical location that obscures things that are behind it. That's physical. What Arwin's correctly describing is the actual experience we encounter, which is the not actual location where the sky appears to meet the ground. Now, in identifying the difference between these two things, a physical reified edge of a ball versus the position where things get too small to see, a not actual location. Well, the juxtaposition between these two things is the understanding that we're not on a ball.
Yeah, well said.
Well, that's why that Modus Tollens argument is so great, because if the Earth is a ball the size that they tell us it is, there is absolutely no way that the horizon can be where it is in that first picture. Absolutely no way. So that's dead. Rest in peace, globe. Sorry, guys.
Tune in Saturday.
I mean, it can be demonstrated what we're talking about here through Google Earth.
There'll be on Ballbusters. There's going to be several representations of exactly this, and the explanation between the geometry and the location we encounter, and the whys and wherefores of why it is physically impossible for the horizon to be loomed up. It's a geometrical position that has to be physical, and it isn't.
Am I sharing, Nath?
No, but you can be.
Yeah, just pop me on for just a second. This is just to explain to the audience, and this is why the horizon distances are so great. See, Google Earth does it at this 8 inches per mile squared, and over here, if you were at this height, which at the moment is 23.25 kilometers, so this is obviously on the larger scale, but you can see that you have an edge. You can't see forever because at this point, whatever's beyond this point here is beyond the edge of their curve. This is a geometric shape. But when you go a little bit higher, and you go a little bit higher, suddenly you can see a landmass there because you've raised up and you're able to see round the curve more. Yeah. The problem is that quite often when you're down at this level here, right down there, you could see that mountain, that building over there, or that landmass over there. You could see it from this height. So how is that the case? Because that's where their edge is. But if we can see that landmass here, there it is. If we can see that landmass from much lower, what's going on? What's happening to their edge, Nathan?
With the edge, nothing, because there is no description of a looming edge. Looming is the object above the horizon, i.e. projected up.
Yeah.
Well, that's not what the horizon does. The horizon, if it's a physical geometric edge, that's the end of the explanation, like in this depiction here. It's either in the way or it isn't. Now, stuff might get, according to their refraction bullshit, projected up, but not the horizon.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful, ain't it?
See...
And the bigger problem is they don't know what looming is. None of them do. Andrew Thomas Young at San Diego State University, you, sir, are a clown. You don't know what looming is. Neither does anyone else. We're going to show what looming is Saturday on Ballbusters. Be there!
Yeah, and just to round up, this is what Taboo Conspiracy does. He sees this horizon beyond this landmass or some kind of oil rig or something like that. So he will see it there. However, on their globe model, they should see that. They shouldn't see the horizon past anything. The fact that it's been flattened out and you're seeing this horizon debunks their notion of an edge on an Earth curve.
Yeah, because that term that they're starting to use, flattening out, as Ruhi phrases it, well, that's a geometric flattening, as opposed to an atmospheric looming. Well, you can't have it both ways. You can't say, well, the ground's being flattened out because the light is being bent. It's like, well, no, the ground isn't being flattened out. You've either got looming or you haven't, and you've either got a geometric physical obstruction or you haven't. And in this case, we can show that you haven't. So, yeah, definitely not a ball. Definitely not an edge.
So, be there or be sphere.
Let's be here or be sphere. On the Quantum Eraser YouTube channel, 7 p.m. UK, 2 p.m. Central Standard.
1 p.m. Central
Standard. 1 p.m. My bad. 1 p.m. Central Standard, 7 p.m. UK. Quantum Eraser channel. Be here or be sphere.
I think you've been getting audiences in the 200 recently.
QE's doing really well.
Yeah. Unlike me, my audience has dropped to 100 now. Ooh.
There's a reason for that. Consistency.
Same time.
Yesterday, you were like, "Oh, I've been really inconsistent. I've made videos for ages, and now I'm back a bit." And it's like, well, nobody's in a routine of watching you. Whereas QE, no, I'm not going to, butter it, but I did tell him to do this. Had a set schedule, an upload schedule, and he sticks to it religiously. What's your show tonight, QE?
I'm not doing one tonight.
One
Nathan.
second, got a mouthful of food, man.
No worries. But I can rest assured that at 1 p.m. Central Standard, 7 p.m. UK tonight, I will be in front of a Quantum Eraser video, because I know it's ingrained now. It's been consistently out there every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, so people know to tune in. So that's why he's getting audiences in the 200s.
Cool stuff. I'm thinking of doing a comparison video with that new channel, Sky something. What's she called now? What are they called? Sky Free, with excellent observations, I have to say, of that miniature boat on a small lake. Go and subscribe today. Sky Free.
Yeah, hey, nice. Ranty, make sure you run that goose.
What? Oh,
Ranty, make sure you run that video with the goose.
The giant goose.
The one that scared the shit out of me?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen that yet. If you're around tomorrow, I'd love to see it.
Hang on, let me see if I can pick that goose part out. Hang on.
You've got 3 minutes if you want to squeeze it into this after show.
Yeah,
3 minutes, 4 hours.
No.
I'm trying to find the goose part, so it's not on that video. Hang on.
While you're looking for it, what's your show tonight, Huey?
Oh, it's an old IRM show that I was on. So, Adam, I'm running that show that we did a couple years ago.
I remember your show on IRM.
Yes,
it was good.
they IRM. Those guys interviewed me.
Yeah, I remember it very well. It was good.
Yep. Oh, and Ranty, another good idea for your show would be to bring that Knuckle Dragon Dean Stingray onto your show, because he and you have some unfinished business.
Dean, why? What's he? What business do we have that we haven't concluded?
A couple years ago, he attempted feebly to model, quote unquote, your 18-mile 1-foot observation, and he couldn't do it. Right? But he's been flapping his gums over on Jose Retard's channel for quite a while now about his modeling and how the Earth's a sphere. He's got some unfinished business back here. You're whistling past the graveyard, retard.
You know who we're talking about?
Yeah,
Dean Stingray.
He gave one of the greatest concessions ever. So he modelled out the very observation you're now describing that he's back parroting over on Jose's channel, and modelled it for Auntie. And the question was put to him, what's the explanation for this? Can you see it on a sphere? The answer was no, it's probably down to blah, 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 my religion. And then we asked him, what explanation do we have to give for seeing this as a flat earther? And he said, none. No explanation needed.
Is that where you got it from?
No, I'd already been saying it up until that point, but there was never a point that a fundie basically admitted outright that his model says it shouldn't be there and needs explaining, that it's suddenly a phenomena. It could be this, this, and this. It's slightly looming, blah, blah, blah. But when put to him, well, what do we need to do to explain seeing Barrow in finesse at 18 miles? And the answer is nothing. As a flat earther, I say I see it because it's there, and there is no explanation required. Well, having modelled it, he had to concede that we don't need to give any explanation for just seeing something. The Earth's obviously inobservably flat. There is no necessity to explain away why we just see something. Now, the fact that in his model it shouldn't be there, yeah, that means suddenly he's got to explain away why his model that is reified says it shouldn't be there and give his bullshit explanation thereafter. Well, that's just his religious belief being asserted after just being shown something that's there. There's no need to give any explanation whatsoever. Well, why? Well, because we don't reify a ball into our existence. We just take in the nature of reality we observe, it's obviously flat. But I don't have to explain Barrow-in-Furness at 18 miles, or the Chicago skyline, or an oil rig, or a clock tower, or anything else. It's just, I see it, there it is, it's a picture. No explanation needed because the Earth's flat.
Well, here's a picture for
and
you,
that
Nathan.
proved it.
Yeah, that
Do you want
proves
to see
it.
this? Do you want to see this goose?
Go on, QE, and then yes, Ranty, I'll get it on screen again.
Yeah. 1 second. Yeah, that proved it, that the Earth was flat right there. So it should have been over. But then when Jose's show pops up, he pops on there. Now he's a ball earther again with his stupid models. I mean, that's the definition of fanatical religious zealotry.
Yep.
Evidence in your face. And then you go on another person's show touting your religion, the opposite of what you showed on your model. What's up with that?
Zealotry.
Talk about a continuity error.
Yeah, zealotry.
That's
You
it.
summed it up beautifully. It is zealotry. That is the correct definition. You're on screen, Ranty.
Okay, so we're following a boat, a miniature boat, very small boat across this lake that's about a tenth of a mile across, and they're going to zoom in, and this is where QE jumps out of his skin. tarantula duck.
Love it.
Tarantula duck. I love it. I'll put it on slow. I'll just play it through on slow. That was quite funny.
Are you sure it's a duck and not a goose?
Yeah, it's a goose. Look at the size of that thing.
And with that, I'll say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both today's Discord and G Plus panels for making this after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in the Nathan Oakley premiering stream for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!